for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. In Season 2 of Hacks and Hobbies, we're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life who want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. In this episode, we get to speak with the best kept business secret. What's the secret? Well, we'll find out today. Today we have Marc Ford. He's the best kept business secret. And it's one of the crazy ones, as Marc's website says. So, Marc, thank you so much for taking the time and coming onto the podcast.
Absolute pleasure. I'm absolutely genuinely blessed that you've asked me to come on and talk to you guys.
Fantastic. So tell us a little bit about what is this business secret, or before we even get to the secret, what made you come up with the secret?
Right. Okay. Well, it's kind of like it's like a twofold thing. When I was about 10 years ago, when I was growing my business, I had a realization. I had a business coach at the time. And that particular business coach was very, very good. Mm-hmm. However, they wanted to take all the glory for themselves. So if I give you like an idea, they would post on social media and they would be telling people things like news just in, such and such business has just had the best 6 months they've ever had. Amazing what happens when you do what your business coach tells you.
Okay.
And that sounds quite frivolous in just a moment. But when you're seeing this being constantly posted about every single business that he works with,
mm-hmm.
I am absolutely all for the fact that he is obviously very successful, hence why the businesses are successful. However, I also was very well aware that he is really only part of that business for like an hour a week on a Skype call.
Yeah.
Whereas the business owner themselves is sort of like waking up thinking about their business. They are going to bed thinking about the business. All the other hours, bar that 1 hour, they are putting in the blood, sweat, and the tears.
Yeah.
So I began to sort of like see that as, do you know what? Actually, the real success is from the business owner, because they're the ones that are, they're putting the passion, they're putting the energy, they're putting all the emotion, all the effort into their business. And actually that success, although that individual had guided them perhaps or nudged them in the right direction, is their hard work. So you weren't seeing them going, do you know what, we've had the best year, we've had the best 6 months of our lives.
Yeah.
But their business coach was kind of taking the credit for it. And then I sort of like, we parted ways because it got to the point where the ego was just getting out of hand. Posted a picture on Christmas Eve. There's him, his wife, 2 adult sons. There's a Christmas tree with presents that come out to the middle of the living room, and there was a caption underneath it saying something along the lines of, this is what success looks like. Now, I'd been talking at that point to a couple of his clients just as friends, and they were struggling their backsides off. They were struggling to pay their mortgage. They were struggling to pay their bills. But here was a guy just, basically just thumbing it up to everybody going, look how rich I am. Look how fantastic I am. I just took that as a bit distasteful at the time. So there was that aspect of it. And then it got to the point where I started coaching about 5 years ago now. And as you do, when you first start out in this role, you want people to recommend you. And I was working with one particular business and I said, look, are you happy with everything? And they said, yeah, we are absolutely over the moon. It's great. And I said, look, well, can I ask you whether you can recommend me? And they said, no. And I said, what? They said, no. I said, I thought you were happy with everything. And they said, well, we are. But why would we want to give you to any of our rivals? Why would we want to give you to any of our competition? you're our best kept business secret. And that first time, I took that quite hard. I've got to be honest, I took it really hard. I was having a proper man sulk for some good weeks after that.
Yeah.
About 3 months later, I go into a very similar position with another business. And again, I asked for a recommendation and they said no. And virtually word for word, they said the same thing. And you know what? I just thought, okay, this is a sign here. There's somebody's giving me something here that, you know, there's a sign. So I kind of embraced it and I started calling myself your best kept business secret. But it's also because all the businesses that I work with, I am not going to promote myself off the back of them. I will tell people that they're very happy for me to say that I work with them, but I'm not going to say that their success is down to me. I spend maybe an hour, 2 hours, maybe 3 hours a week with some of these guys, but it's their hard work. It's their blood, their sweat, their tears. They wake up thinking about it. They go to bed thinking about it. Exactly. You know, it's all or nothing with them. So you will never ever find me posting anywhere on a social media or, you know, or even necessarily even on my website. You'll see the testimonials, but there are no figures. There are no, I've had my best year ever and it's all down to Mark, because that's not me. In a position that I'm in where I'm a coach and I'm a mentor, I think there needs to be a massive amount of humility with that, because I'm very blessed to be in that position. But I also recognize that the real hard work is not done by me.
Yeah.
It's actually done by the business owner themselves. So there you go. That is the story of why I'm called your best kept business secret. And also the simple fact is, the other part of the tagline is making no secret of success, because for some reason us humans like to overcomplicate stuff. And actually the easiest way to make money or grow your business is often doing the simplest stuff really, really well, because nobody else can be bothered to. So there you go. You see, I've given you a secret there, guys. You see, straight away, I've given you a secret.
You're absolutely 100% correct. There is no secret to success. The secret is the grunt work, right?
It is. Yeah.
You have to put in the hours day in, day out, continuously to build your business up. Just like when we're working for somebody else, day in, day out, you are continuously working on that same project. And then after a few months, you see that project flourish and do well and get better at it. So you iterate, you keep at it, and that's the secret.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a great quote by Seth Godin, is that all the easy stuff has already been done. And it has. It's already been done. And here's the thing, is that when people are trying to sell really expensive funnels for things, and if you do this particular way of doing things or that particular way of doing things and follow this blueprint to the letter, invariably it doesn't work. Because actually, if it does work, it just means that nobody in your sector was doing it in the first place, which is great. But you can't replicate somebody else's success, especially if they were there first. So every business is different. And again, this is one of the things that, I talk until I'm blue in the face with. There are certain coaching organizations out there, and they're very, very well known, that use a process, a program. You have to follow this process. You have to follow this program so that you can get business success. They use the cliche of working on your business, not in your business, that type of thing. They try and position your business so that you can sell it. But do you know what? Here's the thing: what happens if somebody doesn't want to sell their business? Here's the thing: what happens if somebody is just quite happy earning £100,000 a year? 2 nice cars on the drive. They go on 3 holidays a year. Their mortgage is getting paid off really quickly. They can afford to do what they want when they want. Do you know what? Every business is different. Every single business on the planet is as unique as your thumbprint, as your fingerprint, as your teeth, as your DNA. It's just unique. So you can't coach. You can't do the same things with a business that's identical to another business in the same sector. You could have two greengrocer shops.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, both selling fruit and veg.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy running the one greengrocer shop has a very different personality to the woman who's running the other. So, who is his ideal customer? Who is her ideal customer? How does, what are his goals and desires? What are her goals and desires? Mm-hmm. So by trying to stick them into the same funnel, into the same process, you're going to get varying degrees of success from, complete abject failure to superstardom. But you almost have to find a way that business owner is going to accept, is going to take responsibility for that business to be grown, but they have to come to those decisions. That's what proper coaching is, rather than just mapping it out and do this, then this will happen, do that, then that'll happen. There are way too many people out there making spreadsheet millionaires overnight. And you're right. It's about the grunt work. And, I was talking today to some female entrepreneurs here in the UK. And they've all got very, very different businesses. And the one thing that we were talking about when we were talking about the basics was somebody mentioned overnight success. Mm-hmm. And I said, it's a complete lie.
Yeah.
Overnight success does not exist. It has never existed and will never exist. Because it's just that when you see somebody and you deem them an overnight success, that's because you've just become aware of them. You have not become aware of the 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 10-year, 20-year amount of work that it's taken them to get to where they are. And all of a sudden people go, oh, you're an overnight success. You've come from nowhere. And here you are, you're an overnight success. No, they were always there. It's just that you've become aware of them and more people have become aware of them. So now you think that they're an overnight success.
Right.
So, no silver bullets, no easy ways. One of the simplest secrets is, prepare to roll your sleeves up and do some grunt work, because in the end, it will pay off.
That's so divine, because it's funny. I was talking to a friend of mine about, existing, and how you finally see, okay, oh, these guys are coming up. They're overnight success. Well, what's funny is I was talking to a friend of mine, and he's the one who gave me the idea of starting, talking about Queen Bee and how Queen Bee is Beyonce for my podcast. And when I had him on the podcast as a guest, I was like, for what it seemed like a long series of coincidences, like Mr. Grayson Scott had planned this out from way ahead. I told him, I didn't know you existed till I met you.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true. Yeah.
So you never know somebody till you existed. But then I told him that, and then he's making fun of him, like, so you're saying that I already knew about you, Super Junaid, and I already knew that you're going to start this podcast and have me as a guest. I'm like, absolutely, because you're the one who put the idea in my head to talk about Beyonce and Queen Bee. And then, so I started my podcast in like 100 episodes. And then, he started his podcast as well. And I had been telling him, and then I brought him on the show. And he's like, you planned this entire thing out, didn't you? It's like, that's too funny. So,
but it's true. Sometimes it's like you're not aware of someone, and we can want things too much, and we can go searching for them. And I guess I'm a bit of a believer in that there is no such thing as luck. Okay, you make your own luck.
Exactly.
You do the right things at the right time with the right people, and guess what? Things start happening. Okay. The best thing that I can say is that you never go chasing it. And I'm sort of almost quoting my friend Crosley here with this, is that if you go chasing something, so if you had chased, podcast, I'm going to be a massive international success in my podcast.
Yeah.
Guess what? It would never have happened, because quite simply is that if you end up chasing something, invariably it runs away. If you've got a pet dog and you chase your dog, it runs away. It thinks it's a game. It just gets further away. So the smart thing to do is to stand still and wait for it to come to you.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously in business and, you know, and things like that, you can't just stand still.
Yeah.
There's another great quote that somebody gave me is that if you stand still long enough, you'll get run over. Which is true. You've always got to be keeping moving forward. So in this case, when you're talking about your good friend that came onto the podcast there, it's, you've set your podcast up, you've come up. I would say that he's right. He's always existed. It's just that you were never looking for him.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden, this idea has come into your head, and then your mind's been opened up to other possibilities, other ideas, other thoughts. And guess what? He's just suddenly appeared at the right time in the right place.
Yeah. And that's what's been happening for the past few months or past couple of years. And it really struck me when I turned 42. And I was like, I'm not getting any younger. And
you're a spring chicken, my friend. I'm 45 this year.
Well, here's what triggered in my head, right? It's like 42 is the perfect answer to the universe's question.
Very true. Hitchhikers Guide to the Galaxy.
Yes. So I was like, I've got to make something happen. So that was last year. And I was like, I'm going to make it happen, hell or high water. And I did. I started my podcast. I interviewed over 50 people. I've got, almost 100 episodes. If I hadn't taken the leap, if I hadn't thought to myself, okay, I'm not getting any younger, I need to make a change. I need to do what I'm passionate about and not work on somebody else's dream.
Yeah.
Right.
Very much so. Yeah.
So I was like, all right, nobody is going to come and hand it to me in a silver platter. Like no one's going to like, hey, Junaid, I know you've been waiting for that big business and that big car. We've just been holding off on you. And here it is. It's not a birthday gift, right? You've got to make it yourself happen. So here I am.
Sometimes you just have to be just aware of the signs. You just have to be aware of, situations, things that happen, whether they're good or whether they're bad. It kind of links into how I ended up doing what I'm doing now, really. I'd spent like 20 odd years in corporate life. And I ended up leaving corporate life quite simply because I could start an argument in an empty room and still win. Because I just really didn't agree with the direction the company were going in. And as it stands here in the UK, they're currently being bought. It looks like they're going to get bought out. And it's because they've had a woeful 10 years, it has to be said. I'm not saying that's because I left, but I'm just saying I was right. That's what I'm saying. And I started my own business, and it was a driving school here in the UK. And I ended up realizing that there wasn't much in the way of business nows for these really hardworking, self-employed people. I put on a couple of conferences. First one was a huge success, and we got to the second one the following year. And this happened in the March. But if I take you back 4 months prior to that, I was married at the time, got a young son. My then wife's sister-in-law, my sister-in-law, who was exactly the same age as me. Exactly the same age as me. So 39. We were both due to turn 40 the following year. Her parents went round to her house on Boxing Day and go and see her and her 3 kids. And as she got up to go and make a cup of tea, she collapsed of a massive heart attack.
Whoa.
No one saw it coming. No one knew it was coming. It just came completely out of the blue. Effectively, those 3 kids lost their mum within minutes on Boxing Day that day. Now, the family was a very small family. Obviously, the kids have now are very, very happy with their father, which is great. There was a lot of beef and a lot of hassle going on at the time, but because there was a bit of a fractious family sort of like connection going on there, a lot fell on my shoulders. Not only was I consoling Kate's parents, I was consoling Kate, and I was consoling my son. And it was one of those things that, selfishly, looking back on it now, nobody ever asked me whether I was okay.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And I remember being on stage at this second conference that we were doing.
Yeah.
And I was introducing someone, and I paused, and to me, it seemed like minutes, and it wasn't. It was just seconds. But I suddenly had this flash going through my head. Here I am in front of 200 people in an industry that I no longer enjoy.
Yeah.
And I suddenly went, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? I have achieved nothing. And I remember those thoughts going through my head. I want to, I need to be doing things that I want to do. And that started me on the journey that I'm on now, because, within days of me having that thought, I'd signed up to do an online MBA with the Open University. Now, I'd never had the chance to go to university because my parents could never have afforded to send me.
Yeah.
But I was in a position to put myself through it. It ended up that I ended up writing 2 books for that industry.
Wow.
I'd always wanted to write a book. So imagine the smile on my face when my first book arrived on my doorstep the day before my 40th birthday. Nice. And it goes to show you that if you start looking for signs of things that, to change your life, to change your direction, they can be good signs, but they can also be bad signs. And it's nobody, Todd Henry in his book, Die Empty, there's a great line in there. Nobody ever lay on their deathbed saying, I wish I hadn't. Everybody lies on their deathbed saying, I wish I had.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just got to take the bull by the horns and you just got to go with it. You got to run with it. For better or for worse, you got to run with it, because you don't want that regret. When you're sort of like 85, 90 and you're lying there going, do you know what? I wish I'd done that parachute jump.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've gone and done one of those last year as well, by the way.
Nice.
I do it in seconds again as well. It was the best fun ever. It really was. Mental. There's no reason. Hey, maybe your listeners can help me out on this.
Yeah.
I don't understand parachute jumping in any shape or form logically. Okay. A part of my brain is very creative. The other part is very logical. But I don't understand why us humans, want to get in a plane, go up in the air, and then fall out of a perfectly good aeroplane down to the earth again. That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
Really doesn't. To me, that's almost like getting in a car and whilst driving at 100 miles an hour, cutting the brake lines, and then seeing if you slow down in time. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think it goes all the way back to our looking at the birds and our passion to fly.
Oh, this is going to be deep. I can see this. This is going to be deep.
It's passion to fly. Like, we want to soar the skies. Like, no, not anybody will step out and look down at the ground and like, hey, I wish I was there. No, we look up to the sky and like, hey, I wish I was flying. I mean, it's an innate in the nature of human beings to be higher than we are today.
Yeah, but do you ever think that birds look at us and go, do you know what? I'd really like to have a good walk.
Never. They never think of that.
Well, they do though. Birds, they don't fly everywhere. Birds walk. They walk a lot as well. So I'm just thinking perhaps birds have got the opposite, going, do you know what? I'd really like to just put my feet up down here. Just have a sit down. That'll be all right. my wings hurt.
Yeah. But that's the other thing about the birds and how God created them with hollow bones. So they're not as heavy as we are, with our bones filled with the juice, the creation juice, whatever you call it.
Yeah. I just think God made far too many humans with hollow heads, let alone hollow bones.
You're absolutely right. We are indeed full of hollow heads.
Here's another business secret for you guys, right? Okay, when you're running your business or you're making a product or you're doing a service, You can make something idiot-proof. It's just that God will make a better idiot. That's it. That's all I'm giving. I'm giving you another one. There you are. You can take that one to the bank. It's true. You can take that one to the bank. Deny it if you will. Honestly, deny it if you will. But seriously, there are child-safe things to stop us getting paracetamol out. That, honestly, they stop most adults getting paracetamol out. So obviously, we haven't evolved.
We have not evolved at all. It's so funny. That's why we need coaches, right? That's why we need mentors, and because
so this is interesting, because I know this is your show, right? I know this is your show.
Yeah.
But I'm going to throw a question to you.
Of course.
What do you think a coach or a mentor should be? There you go. Because when I go networking, the amount of people that say, what do you do as a coach? What do you do as a mentor?
Yeah.
And I'm always interested to find out what they think a coach or a mentor should do. So you tell me what you think a coach or a mentor should do.
That's a really good question. A coach or mentor is someone, if you take the example of an athlete and a coach, and what a coach means for an athlete. Like, there's hundreds, even thousands of basketball players, right? And they depend on those coaches to help them be better at their own game. There's hundreds of athletes, there's thousands of athletes, and every athlete has one or two coaches to make sure that they stay on the track, because our mind wanders so far beyond. That's why we have the schooling system, so we can help people learn some of the things that will get them to a point that is successful. But again, it's a guidance system. For example, GPS will tell you, okay, take the next right, take the next left. So that's what a coach helps you do. Get to that final destination. Make sure that the journey that you're taking to be successful, the coach has been there. He's taken those routes, right? So he knows exactly what turns to take, which stop to stop at, which bus to take next, right? So the entire step by step, this is what you got to do. And it's not the same for everybody. Mm-hmm. And the coach understands that.
You see, that's interesting, because I disagree slightly.
Okay.
I was agreeing with everything until you said the coach has been there and done it. And I'll give you a great example. Here, obviously, here in the UK, we play soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. People who call themselves coaches do different things at different levels. And I'll give you a great example. If you are the football coach of an under 12s football team, mm-hmm. you have to teach them how to strike the ball. You have to teach them how to pass the ball. Mm-hmm. You have to teach them about formations and sort of like sticking together, just the basic fundamentals. Mm-hmm. If you then sort of like go up several levels and you go to League 2, we have League 2 here. So we've got Premiership, Championship, League 1, League 2. League 2, they can play football. Mm-hmm. They know how to play football, mm-hmm. but they get very well distracted. Mm-hmm. So therefore you have to remind them how, good they are, what their roles are, and be very quite managerial in your coaching. All right. Mm-hmm. We then go to the Premiership. Can you imagine a coach telling a £50 million striker how to strike the ball?
No.
Or how to pass the ball? Or how to head the ball? No. The job of that coach is to understand and get the player to understand their best attributes and continue to get the best out of those best attributes, whilst also making them aware of the things that are holding them back. Now, notice I sort of said making them aware.
Making them aware, yeah.
Yeah, just making them aware, because You can't make someone do something they don't want to do.
True that.
So if you're a £50 million striker and you are scoring 30 goals a season, why should you be back in your own goal line defending? You're not very good at it, when in fact, actually, you should be up front. You might come back over the halfway line, which you haven't been doing, and put in the odd tackle to try and break up the play. That's fine. So you're improving your defensive play, but you're there for your attacking play. And some of the best coaches in soccer haven't actually played the game at the top level.
True.
They know what it takes for a player to be at the top level, but they've never actually played the game at the top level. So I guess the best example I can give you is probably Jose Mourinho. Yeah. Jose Mourinho was at Barcelona as an interpreter for ex-England manager Bobby Robson when he was managing Barcelona. He wasn't even a coach. He was an interpreter.
Wow.
And he's one of the most well-known football coaches in the world right now.
Wow.
So I have a real true belief that that virtually everybody knows the answers to their problems, to their issues, whether it's business, personal, whatever. It's just that they need that little bit of help to face up to them to then decide what they're going to do about it. So you use a great analogy with an athlete. Yeah. You know, Mr. Athlete, you are quick. You are fantastically quick. Yeah. You are doing the 100 meters in 10 seconds. Yeah. Where do you think you're not getting 9.5? Well, do you know what? My start is really ropey. Well, okay, let's work on your start. If you think it's your start, let's work on the start. All of a sudden, he hits 9.6 seconds. You're right. It's the start. Great. So where are we going to shave off the other 0.1? Yeah. How can we shave off the other 0.1? Well, do you know what? I think I could be doing. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. And everybody knows the answers deep down. If they're honest enough with themselves, they know the answers. Like they know the answers of why their business isn't successful. Yeah. They know the answers to why they're not getting the right customers, the right clients. They know the answers to why they're not getting the money in the bank. They know the answers to, why their marketing's not working. It's just that because we're all incredibly proud beings, sometimes we don't like to face up to it. And I think that I was agreeing with you right up until you said that they've been there and they've done that. I'm not a millionaire. No. Fact. I am not a millionaire. I have a very nice life, a very enjoyable life, but I am not a millionaire. But guess what? I've coached businesses so that they are now millionaires. Yeah. Do you see what I mean? So it's a case of, did I need to be a millionaire to coach those businesses? Well, the answer is no. No. Because my view of success is different to somebody else's. Does that make sense?
No, I totally get it. You're absolutely right. I mean, I guess it's a really good point because a coach can observe. They've observed many other athletes and they see their performance. So they can help you in that area and to see, like you mentioned, to notice and make you aware of stuff that you might not be paying attention.
Absolutely.
Great.
You may be, because you are so focused. It's like, from my own story, I think one of the assets that I have as a coach is that I am very aware of when people are on the verge of burning out, of when it's becoming too much, of when it's getting overwhelming. And I am, to them, I'd like to think, their voice of reason and their conscience going, no, hang on, you need to take a step back. You need to have a rest. So if we go back to my story, when I started coaching, my marriage had broken down. I was coaching and I was writing books and I was writing blogs and I was doing podcasts and I was doing videos and I was doing speaking gigs and I was trying to hold my own life together and I was, still sort of like having my son every weekend, which is great. and I was spinning so many plates, but because I am a very proud human being, I just kept working harder, thinking that actually everything would sort itself out. And it didn't. And there was one Saturday morning that I'm just sat in the middle of my living room crying my eyes out.
Yeah.
I was knackered. I was worn out. I was beat up. I was empty, spiritually empty. I just wanted the ground to open up and swallow me up and just stop the pain. And I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
And it's not until you become well again and you look back on things that you see all the warning signs were there.
Yeah.
And I now in my coaching, when I see somebody on the verge of, starting to, see those symptoms of burnout, I will call them or on a call with them, or I will go and see them and say, no, you need to take a couple of days off. The business is still going to be here when you get back, but you need to take a couple of days off. You need to go and look after you, because every single business, and I'm sure every person that's listening to this that owns a business, without you, there is no business.
Exactly.
There is no business. No. You are your biggest and best asset. Yeah. If you were a chauffeur of to the stars, and you bought a £100,000 limousine to ferry them all over the place, you would make sure that limousine was polished, was clean, was vacuumed, was road legal, was roadworthy, was fueled properly and oiled properly. Yet we don't do it with ourselves.
We don't do that.
That makes no sense. Yeah. And it's not until you go through something like that you have a real affinity with it, and you know the damage that it can do to people, to businesses, to relationships, to friendships, to business relationships, to business friendships. And I think it's, I think it's massive for a coach to be able to see those signs. If we go to sport, there's a lot more in sport where people who are on £5 million a year, or 200 grand a week, or whatever they're on, are coming out and saying they're struggling with anxiety, stress, and depression. And people are going, well, you're on 200 grand a week, you shouldn't be. No, because guess what?
Related.
It's not related. It's a chemical imbalance in your head. And actually, by working harder, by doing the things that you've always done, you're always going to get the same result.
Yeah.
Something has to change.
Something else. Yep.
And, so when you are right. So when you see, some of the top coaches in the world look at all these other different aspects of life, or look at other athletes, or look at other ways of training, or look at other ways of doing business, or look at other ways of promoting and marketing, blah, blah, blah. That's the job of a coach, bringing a fresh set of eyes, a fresh set of ears in.
Exactly.
And doing it in that order, because we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And I know I'm talking a lot in a minute, but we have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Yep.
And we should listen more than we speak.
Absolutely.
Because invariably the answers are in what somebody is saying to you.
Absolutely. You are on point. This was beautiful. I love it.
Thank you.
It drives in exactly where my thought process lives, and so we're in complete sync.
Good man.
We have some questions for our guest that we ask every guest. What is one hobby that you wish you got into?
There's one hobby I wish I'd carried on and I'd really persevered with, and that's cartooning.
Nice.
Yeah, I did a lot of cartooning. It was about the age of 13 I started doing it. I call them doodles now because they're not as good as they should be or could be. And I know that because I just haven't put the time or effort into it, unfortunately. But I did graphic design at A level at the age of 16, and I went to go and work like a job week for one of the TV companies here in the UK. And it was in the early 90s, and it was really big. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah, it was massive.
Massive.
And this TV company that I went to work for just for the week, I just doodled the Teenage Mutant Ninja toilets. Now, that doesn't even sound funny, okay? I appreciate that. But it was Teenage Mutant Ninja toilets, heroes with a chain on. That's all I'm saying. They were ace.
Love it.
I didn't think anything of it. I did these doodles and there was nothing of it.
Yeah.
And about 2 years later, I'd left home and I was working in retail at the time and I just finished a shift and I came home and I was living in a bed sit and I switched my TV on and there was a children's TV program on and guess what I'm watching? The Teenage Mutant Ninja Toilets. Damn it. Seriously.
That's
unbelievable. So yeah, it's one of those things that I go through phases that if I'm going to doodle, I doodle. If I don't, I don't. But I'm starting to use more of my cartoons in my presentations. So when I'm doing keynotes now, I'm using a lot of them. So yeah, there's a little bit more personal touch, if that makes sense, by using those.
Cool.
So
that's
yeah, I'm coming to the party a little bit late, but I'm glad I'm sort of falling in love with it again.
Awesome. All right. Next question. What is your favorite movie or TV show?
My favorite TV show, I've actually got two. Okay. All right. I know when I sent you the answer to this, it really took me ages to work it out actually, but I've got two. One is Suits.
Okay.
And the other one is Life on Mars. Life on Mars is about a police officer that gets run down and wakes up. He gets run down in early 2000s and wakes up in 1972. And it's amazing. The soundtrack is one of the best soundtracks you're ever going to hear.
Nice.
But it gave us the brilliant character, Gene Hunt, who is a proper copper. It was a mix of the Sweeney, Dixon and Doc Green, and the Bill, and it was a great program. If you haven't seen it, go and find it on somewhere like
check it out,
BritBox or Netflix or somewhere like that. It's a BBC one. Don't go and watch the American one because the American market remade it and it was tripe.
Yes,
it was absolute rubbish. Harvey Keitel was in it, and it was just the ending sucked. So they rewrote the ending. It was terrible. Don't do it. Don't go watch that. Watch the British version.
British version.
Suits. Yeah. Suits is brilliant. Harvey in Suits is just... he's kind of like the guy that I always wanted to be. I'm not. I kind of realized that the ugly face that I have is the best it's ever going to get. I realized that I'm not 6'4". I am, in fact, just 6 foot.
Yeah.
I realized that I haven't got a chiseled bone structure he has. But it's just that honestly, it's a great show. And I know it's just finished and I'm going to go back and watch it all over again.
Yeah.
I've just introduced my partner Gemma to it.
Nice.
And she's watching it on her own and she's addicted to it now as well. So if you've not watched Suits, go watch Suits. Absolutely love that program.
We'll check it out. So where can my audience find you?
Right. Yeah. Your audience can find me in all the usual places, and probably unusual places. If I'm in your cupboard, trust me, that's an unusual place. I'm not going to be there. But you can normally find me. You can come and find me on Facebook. Type in Marc Ford, your best kept business secret. I'll be on Facebook. I'm on Twitter at BizCoachMarc. I'm on LinkedIn. Come find me there. But also you can come and find me on my website as well, where if you go to my website, you can have a free, get this, I'm giving you something of value here. You can have a free digital copy of my latest book.
Nice.
With the 101 business coaching questions that you need to answer to grow your business. So it's Marc Ford, Mark spelt with a C, by the way. It's the only posh thing my family ever did. So it's www.marcford.uk, not .co.uk, but .uk. So www.marcford.uk, and you can grab a copy of my book there. And if you want to hear some stuff, you can also come and hear me on my podcast.
There you go.
So I'm going to get you on my podcast in the very near future.
Awesome.
But if you want to go to iTunes or the usual podcast places, just type in Your Best Kept Business Secret, and I'll be on iTunes and the usual podcast places as well. That's where they can come and find me.
Yeah, I'll be sure to include all of the links to the show notes so the audience can find you quickly. And this was an awesome conversation. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you for having me. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode on Hacks and Hobbies. We absolutely appreciate your contribution. You can find additional notes on hacksandhobbies.com. Please share the podcast with your friends and tell them what you learned about our guest today.